I've created a handout, and it's how to use the two most common kind of calculators I see cadets have. One is the TI-89, and the other is the TI Inspire. This is the only time I'm going to talk about how to use your calculators. It's a specific guide on how to use your calculators for calculating with complex numbers using just the stuff we're going to do in this class. The mode key is really important. I've got some simple examples about how to work with numbers in polar notation and rectangular notation. And then I've got how to solve complex matrices using an example. Let's say that you've got this horrendous thing. Here's a number that's in complex exponential notation using radians. Here's one that's in polar notation using degrees. And then here's something that uses rectangular notation in the bottom. And we want to figure out how to use your calculator to solve this. Well, there's two approaches. You'll notice that some things are using radians here. And then some things are using degrees. So the first question is, do you want your answer to be in radians or in degrees? If you want your answer to be in degrees, which is the most common, then put your calculator's mode in degree and in complex polar. So those are two separate modes. You'll have to set your calculator to use both. Once you do that, since you're in degree mode now, you'll have to change everything in here in degrees. So radians will have to become degrees, and we'll rewrite this as 2 at an angle of pi over 4 is 45 degrees. And the rest stays the same. And now, to actually put it in your calculator, you've got to somehow evaluate that numerator first. If you just put it in like this, 2 at an angle of 45 minus 4 at an angle of 30 over 6 plus J8, the division sign will group this part with this first. So we're going to have to put in big parentheses over that numerator. And this, anything in polar notation, you also need to put in parentheses for it to understand. There's an actual angle sign, and then you can just put in 45. It knows it's in degrees because you set it to degrees earlier. So here's your first complex number. Here is your second complex number. And then you'll divide it by, again, you have to put this in parentheses, otherwise it'll divide by 6 and then add the J8 at the very end. And there is a weird looking complex number that has two vertical lines on it. It's right underneath the catalog key. And that's what you'll put into your calculator. And it will be able to evaluate that and return an answer in degrees. The other way that you can evaluate it is if you want to do everything in radians. And to do that, you'll firstly put the calculator into the mode of radians, but still complex polar, because we want the output to be in polar notation. And then you'll rewrite this thing entirely in radians. So in radians, this would be 2 e to the j pi over 4. That's the same. Minus 4 e to the j, let's see, 30 degrees would be pi over 6. And all that over 6 plus j8. So now you could write, again, we'll put a parentheses around that numerator, and that would be 2 exponent of I pi over 4 minus 4 exponent of I pi over 6. That's our whole numerator, and then we'll divide it by the same kind of denominator we had before, and that will work too. If you get a domain error it means you've got the wrong mode.